pinch of cinnamon in your coffee, garlic powder on dinner, paprika for color. Spices seem innocent, pure, natural, healthy. But for seniors, hidden dangers are lurking in those little jars. From lead contamination to salmonella outbreaks, from pesticide residue to rodent droppings in production facilities, some spice brands are threatening your health with every shake. Today, we're exposing 9 spice brands you should avoid at all costs, and the 2 that are actually worth your trust. Coming in at number 9, we've got McCormick, avoid. The household name, the trusted giant, the red-capped bottles sitting in millions of American kitchens right now. McCormick promises quality, purity, and flavor that's been part of family recipes for generations. But recent FDA inspections paint a very different picture. Multiple McCormick facilities were cited for contamination risks, including the presence of salmonella in black pepper and crushed red pepper batches. For seniors, especially those with compromised immune systems or taking immunosuppressant medications, salmonella isn't just an upset stomach, it's hospitalization, severe dehydration, and life-threatening complications. The FDA found that some production lines showed signs of rodent activity, with droppings discovered near processing equipment. Imagine the paprika you sprinkled on your deviled eggs last week, passing through machinery contaminated by rodent waste. The vibrant red powder hides what your eyes cannot see. You open the jar, expecting that sweet, smoky aroma, but you're also releasing particles that traveled past pest-infested conveyor belts. McCormick also sources from overseas suppliers with inconsistent safety standards. Labs have detected pesticide residues exceeding safe limits in their ground cumin and turmeric. These chemicals accumulate in your body over time, straining kidneys that are already working harder as you age. If you're on blood pressure medication or diuretics, your kidneys are under extra stress. Adding pesticide exposure creates a perfect storm for kidney damage. Studies show that nearly 30% of seniors over 65 have some degree of chronic kidney disease, and pesticide exposure accelerates decline in kidney filtration rates. The brand built on trust has become a health gamble you cannot afford to take. When you shake that familiar red cap, you're gambling with decades of kidney function, risking medication interactions, and exposing yourself to pathogens your aging immune system may not fight off. McCormick's promise was safety. The reality is contamination hiding in plain sight. At number 8, Badia spices, avoid. Marketed as affordable, flavorful, and widely available in every grocery aisle, Badia positions itself as the budget-friendly choice for families. The colorful labels and low prices seem like a win. But affordability comes at a cost your health may pay. In 2021, the FDA issued multiple warnings about Badia products after discovering elevated lead levels in their ground cinnamon. Lead is a silent poison, especially dangerous for seniors. It doesn't cause immediate symptoms, but over months and years it accumulates in bones and organs, causing cognitive decline, nerve damage, and worsening of existing heart conditions. For seniors already managing high blood pressure or taking heart medications, lead exposure can interfere with treatment effectiveness and accelerate cardiovascular deterioration. The FDA tests revealed lead concentrations well above the recommended safety limits, and these were products sitting on store shelves, in pantries, being used daily by unsuspecting consumers. Research indicates that even low-level lead exposure in adults over 60 correlates with increased risk of heart attack and stroke. Your morning oatmeal with cinnamon becomes a daily dose of cardiovascular risk. Badia's oregano and black pepper have also been flagged for contamination with insect fragments and mold spores. You unscrew the cap expecting the earthy scent of dried oregano, but microscopic mold colonies are releasing spores with every pinch. Mold exposure triggers respiratory issues, especially dangerous for seniors with asthma, COPD, or weakened lung function. The spicy aroma you trust is masking microscopic threats. Badia sources heavily from countries with lax agricultural regulations, where pesticides banned in the United States are still in use. Independent lab testing found glyphosate residues in Badia garlic powder, a chemical linked to kidney disease and potential cancer risk. The World Health Organization classifies glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen, yet it's showing up in the garlic powder you're adding to your pasta sauce 3 times a week. The savings at checkout could cost you years of healthy living. When the price seems too good, there's always a reason, and with Badia, that reason is compromised safety standards that put profit over your well-being. Now at number 7, great value, Walmart brand, avoid. Walmart's house brand promises convenience and value, lining the shelves with spices that cost half the price of name brands. It feels like a smart choice, same product, lower cost. But behind that cheerful yellow label is a supply chain riddled with quality control failures. Great value spices have been repeatedly recalled for contamination. including a major 2023 recall of their ground cinnamon after it tested positive for dangerously high lead content. Seniors who use this cinnamon daily in oatmeal, coffee, or baking unknowingly poison themselves with each sprinkle. Lead affects memory, balance, and coordination. Symptoms seniors often attribute to normal aging, never suspecting their spice rack is the culprit. Studies from the Journal of the American Medical Association found that lead exposure in older adults contributes to accelerated cognitive decline equivalent to aging the brain by several additional years. That forgotten word, that moment of confusion, that stumble on the stairs. It might not be age, it might be the cinnamon you trusted. The FDA traced Great Value's contaminated cinnamon back to suppliers in countries with no enforceable safety standards, where spices are processed in facilities with dirt floors, open-air drying racks exposed to insects and animals, and zero sanitation protocols. Consumer complaints describe finding small stones, wood chips, and unidentifiable black particles in Great Value ground spices. One senior reported opening a jar of garlic powder to find it clumped and discolored, smelling faintly of mildew. Lab analysis confirmed mold contamination. For seniors with suppressed immune systems, whether from age, chemotherapy, or autoimmune conditions, mold spores can trigger serious lung infections. Walmart's quality assurance is virtually non-existent for these products. They rely on third-party suppliers who prioritize cost over safety, cutting corners on cleaning, testing, and storage. The supply chain is so opaque that even after recalls, Walmart can't always identify which batches came from which facility, leaving contaminated products on shelves for weeks. That low price tag isn't savings. It's a trade-off that puts your kidneys, heart, and brain at risk. Every dollar saved is a risk multiplied across every meal you prepare. Coming in at number 6, Simply Organic. Avoid. The name itself feels trustworthy. Simply Organic. Clean, pure, natural. The earthy packaging and organic certification give the illusion of safety, convincing health-conscious seniors that they're making the right choice. But organic doesn't mean safe, and Simply Organic has a troubling track record that betrays its wholesome image. In 2022, batches of Simply Organic black peppercorns and paprika were recalled after salmonella contamination was detected during routine FDA testing. Salmonella in dried spices is particularly insidious because most people don't cook spices long enough to kill bacteria. They sprinkle them on finished dishes, salads, or cold foods. For seniors, a salmonella infection isn't just food poisoning. It's severe diarrhea leading to dangerous dehydration, hospitalization for IV fluids, and potential sepsis if the infection enters the bloodstream. Seniors on diuretics or blood pressure medication are especially vulnerable because dehydration can cause blood pressure to plummet or spike unpredictably, triggering heart attacks or strokes. Medical data shows that adults over 65 account for nearly 60% of salmonella-related hospitalizations, with fatality rates 10 times higher than younger populations. Simply Organic also had issues with cross-contamination in their processing facilities. Despite claims of strict organic standards, inspectors found that equipment used for processing tree nut spices wasn't adequately cleaned before processing other products, leading to undeclared allergen risks. But beyond allergens, the real danger is microbial. The organic supply chain often involves smaller, less regulated farms where manure-based fertilizers are used without proper composting protocols. Fresh manure harbors E. coli, salmonella, and other pathogens. When this untreated fertilizer contacts spice plants during growth, bacteria embed in the plant tissue and survive drying. This introduces E. coli and other pathogens directly into the soil where spices are grown. Simply Organic's turmeric and ginger have shown higher than average bacterial counts in independent lab tests. The golden turmeric powder that promises anti-inflammatory benefits could be delivering a bacterial payload straight into your digestive system, wreaking havoc on gut health and straining already compromised immune systems. You measure out a teaspoon for your smoothie, believing you're supporting joint health, but you're actually introducing thousands of bacteria that your weakened stomach acid can't neutralize. Isn't it strange how brands slap organic labels on products and charge double the price? Yet recalls still happen just as often. What are we really paying for? At number 5, Spice Islands. Avoid. With tropical imagery and promises of exotic purity, Spice Islands markets itself as a premium choice, slightly more expensive than store brands, but worth it for the quality. The glass jars and gourmet branding suggest sophistication and care, but recent investigations reveal a company cutting corners in ways that directly endanger consumers. Spice Islands sources heavily from India and China, regions known for agricultural practices that include pesticides banned in the United States. Independent lab testing commissioned by consumer watchdog groups found that Spice Islands ground cumin contained residues of carbofuran, a highly toxic pesticide linked to neurological damage, kidney failure, and endocrine disruption. For seniors already managing diabetes diabetes or thyroid conditions. Endocrine disruptors worsen hormone imbalances, making blood sugar harder to control and increasing medication side effects. Carbofuran is so toxic that a single grain can kill a bird, yet trace amounts appear in spices marketed as premium quality. Spice Islands has also been flagged for undeclared additives. Some of their spice blends contain anti-caking agents like silicon dioxide, which prevents clumping but isn't always listed on labels. While silicon dioxide is generally recognized as safe in small amounts, chronic exposure, especially in seniors with kidney disease, can contribute to renal calcification and worsening kidney function. Over time, these microscopic particles accumulate in kidney tissue, forming deposits that reduce filtration capacity. The FDA issued warning letters to Spice Islands after discovering that some products contained synthetic colorants not approved for food use, including Sudan dyes, which are carcinogenic. These dyes are added to enhance the vibrant red and orange hues of paprika and chili powder, making the spices look fresher and more appealing on the shelf. You open the jar and see that brilliant red color, thinking it's the natural vibrancy of quality paprika, but it's actually a banned industrial dye linked to liver cancer. But the visual appeal comes at the cost of cancer risk, liver damage, and cellular toxicity. Sudan dyes have been banned in food products across Europe and North America for decades, yet they keep appearing in imported spices that slip through inspection gaps. The Spice Islands name evokes paradise, but the reality is contamination, deception, and health risks hiding behind attractive packaging. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. Coming in at number 4, Trader Joe's spices. Avoid. Trader Joe's has cultivated a cult following, with shoppers swearing by the quirky branding and affordable prices. The spices seem like another Trader Joe's win: cheap, abundant, and conveniently packaged. But behind the friendly image is a supply chain that prioritizes cost over safety, and seniors are paying the price. In 2023, Trader Joe's recalled multiple spice products after routine testing found salmonella contamination in their organic ground cumin and coriander. The recall notice was quietly posted on their website, but many customers never saw it, continuing to use contaminated spices for weeks or months. Salmonella in spices is especially dangerous because it survives for years in dried form, waiting to be reactivated the moment it hits moisture, whether that's in your cooking or in your digestive system. The bacteria lie dormant in your spice jar, invisible and odorless, spring to life when they encounter the moisture of your saliva or stomach. Seniors with reduced stomach acid production, a common issue with aging and certain medications like PPIs, are more vulnerable to foodborne pathogens because stomach acid is the first line of defense against bacteria. Without that protection, salmonella moves freely into the intestines, causing severe illness. Research shows that seniors taking acid-reducing medications have 3 times higher risk of severe foodborne illness compared to those with normal stomach acid levels. Trader Joe's also sources from suppliers with documented sanitation failures. FDA inspection reports revealed that one of Trader Joe's spice suppliers in California had rodent infestations, unsealed ingredient bins, and employees handling spices without gloves or hairnets. Imagine turmeric scooped from bins where rodents have nested, ground in equipment coated with rodent urine, then packaged and sold as premium quality. The powder passes through hands that just touched contaminated surfaces, through machinery that hasn't been cleaned in weeks, into jars that sit on your shelf labeled organic and natural. Trader Joe's ground black pepper has been the subject of consumer complaints describing foul odors, clumping, and visible mold growth. One customer opened a fresh bottle to find a greenish tint on the surface, mold spores that had likely been growing since packaging. For seniors with respiratory sensitivities or mold allergies, inhaling these spores while shaking the bottle can trigger asthma attacks, chronic coughing, and lung inflammation. The microscopic spores become airborne with each use, settling in your lungs where your weakened immune system struggles to clear them. Trader Joe's refusal to fully disclose supplier information makes it impossible to trace contamination sources or hold anyone accountable. The friendly branding masks a dangerous lack of transparency. Most people never learn how to spot the warning signs, but we'll break it down at the end of the video. Now at number 365 by Whole Foods Market. Avoid. Whole Foods built its reputation on organic, natural, and trustworthy products. The 365 House brand is supposed to embody those values, affordable access to Whole Foods quality. But the reality is far from the promise. In 2020, 365 organic paprika and cayenne pepper were recalled after elevated lead levels were detected. Lead contamination in spices often comes from soil pollution, poor drying practices, or intentional adulteration to increase weight and color intensity. In some countries, suppliers add lead chromate to spices to make reds and oranges more vibrant, knowing that visual appeal drives sales. They grind the spices with lead-based compounds that enhance color while poisoning every consumer who uses the product. For seniors, lead is a cumulative toxin with no safe level of exposure. It interferes with calcium absorption, weakening bones already at risk for osteoporosis. It damages blood vessels, worsening high blood pressure and increasing stroke risk. It impairs kidney function, a particular concern for seniors already dealing with chronic kidney disease or taking medications that stress renal systems. National health data indicates that even low-level lead exposure in seniors correlates with 20% faster decline in kidney function compared to unexposed individuals. The 365 brand also had issues with pesticide residues. Independent testing found that 365 ground cinnamon contained glyphosate, chlorpyrifos, and other chemicals linked to hormone disruption and neurological damage. These pesticides don't wash off dried spices. They're absorbed into the plant tissue during growth, becoming part of the spice itself. Every time you use that cinnamon, you're ingesting chemical compounds your body was never meant to process. Seniors metabolize toxins more slowly due to decreased liver and kidney function, meaning these chemicals linger longer, accumulating to dangerous levels. Your liver processes toxins at half the speed it did in your 30s, while your kidneys filter waste at 60% capacity. Pesticides that younger people eliminate in days remain in your system for weeks. Consumer reports describe finding insects, insect eggs, and unidentifiable debris in 365 spice jars. One customer posted photos of tiny black bugs crawling inside a sealed container of cumin, evidence of infestation during processing or storage. The bugs weren't introduced after opening. They were packaged with the product, breeding in the jar, contaminating the spice with waste and molted exoskeletons. Whole Foods' response was minimal, a refund and generic apology, with no transparency about investigating the supplier or improving quality controls. The 365 brand promises health and integrity, but delivers contamination, pesticides, and broken trust. Why do you think brands with organic labels still end up with the same recalls and contamination as cheap generic brands? What are we actually paying for? Coming in at number 2, Frontier Co-op Spices. Avoid. Frontier Co-op markets itself as ethical, sustainable, and community-driven, appealing to consumers who want to support responsible businesses. The co-op structure suggests transparency and accountability. But Frontier has faced repeated recalls and contamination scandals that shatter that carefully constructed image. In 2019, Frontier recalled organic turmeric after salmonella was detected in multiple batches. Turmeric is widely used by seniors for its anti-inflammatory properties, often added to smoothies, teas, and supplements. The golden powder is practically a daily ritual for millions managing arthritis, joint pain, and chronic inflammation. But that golden powder became a vehicle for bacterial infection, particularly dangerous for seniors with arthritis or joint pain who consume turmeric daily in large quantities. Salmonella infections in seniors can lead to reactive arthritis, a painful condition where the immune system attacks joints in response to infection, causing chronic pain and disability long after the infection clears. Your body's attempt to fight bacteria triggers an autoimmune response that inflames the very joints you were trying to heal. Medical literature documents cases where salmonella-triggered reactive arthritis persisted for years, leaving seniors with permanent mobility impairment. Frontier's black peppercorns and coriander seeds have also been recalled for contamination. The co-op sources from small-scale farms in developing countries, where drying and storage practices are primitive at best. Spices are often dried on roadsides, exposed to vehicle exhaust, animal waste, and airborne pollutants. Picture pepper berries spread on tarps beside highways, absorbing diesel fumes and collecting dust from passing trucks. They're stored in burlap sacks in non-climate-controlled warehouses where moisture, heat, and pests create ideal conditions for mold and bacterial growth. Rats nest in the corners, their droppings mixing with spices during bagging. Frontier's inspections are infrequent and inadequate. FDA reports show that Frontier failed to implement proper hazard analysis protocols, meaning they weren't even testing for common contaminants before products reached consumers. They trusted their suppliers without verification, and consumers paid the price. Seniors who trusted Frontier's ethical branding were unknowingly consuming spices contaminated with aflatoxins, toxic compounds produced by mold that cause liver damage and are classified as carcinogens. For seniors with existing liver conditions or those taking medications metabolized by the liver, aflatoxin exposure can cause acute liver failure. Statins, blood pressure medications, pain relievers, all processed through your liver, already working overtime. Add aflatoxins, and you're pushing a stressed organ past its breaking point. Frontier's cayenne and chili powders have been flagged for capsaicin levels that exceed labeled amounts, causing unexpected burning and digestive distress in seniors with sensitive stomachs or GERD. The co-op model sounds noble, but without rigorous quality control, it's just another brand that puts profits over safety. Coming in at number 1, Morton Bassett. Avoid. This brand flies under the radar, often found in natural food stores and smaller grocery chains. Morton Bassett presents itself as a small-batch, quality-focused company that cares about ingredients. The labels tout purity and simplicity, but this brand has one of the worst contamination records in the industry. In 2021, Morton Bassett recalled nearly all of their ground spice products after widespread salmonella contamination was traced back to a single supplier in Mexico. The recall affected cinnamon, cumin, paprika, chili powder, and more, essentially every ground spice they sold. The scope of the recall revealed systemic failures in their supply chain, with no effective testing or oversight to catch contamination before products reached consumers. For seniors who had been using these spices for months or years, the damage was already done. Repeated low-level salmonella exposure weakening immune systems, causing chronic digestive issues, and triggering severe infections in the most vulnerable. Your body fought off small bacterial loads day after day, month after month, depleting immune resources until a larger exposure overwhelmed defenses completely. Morton Bassett also had issues with heavy metal contamination beyond lead. Independent lab testing found cadmium and arsenic in their ground turmeric and ginger. These metals accumulate in kidneys and bones, causing irreversible damage over time. Cadmium is particularly insidious for seniors because it mimics calcium in the body, disrupting bone formation and accelerating osteoporosis. Your body mistakes cadmium for the calcium it needs, depositing toxic metal into bone matrix where it remains for decades. Arsenic exposure increases cancer risk, damages blood vessels, and worsens diabetes by interfering with insulin production. Studies show chronic low-level arsenic exposure in seniors correlates with 30% increased cardiovascular mortality and double the rate of diabetes complications. Morton Bassett's production facilities were cited for sanitation violations, including failure to control pests, inadequate employee hygiene protocols, and improper storage of raw materials. Inspectors found open bags of spices sitting on floors, exposed to contamination from foot traffic, cleaning chemicals, and environmental debris. Workers walked through with dirty shoes, dragging in whatever they stepped in outside. Cleaning crews mopped around bags of turmeric, splashing contaminated water onto packaging. The small batch image suggests careful attention to detail, but the reality is carelessness, negligence, and a complete disregard for consumer safety. This is the worst offender on the list, and if you have Morton Bassett spices in your kitchen right now, it's time to throw them away. Don't go yet, the solution comes at the very end, and it could change how you shop forever. The first actual safe option is burlap and barrel. Worth it. This company sources directly from single-origin farms with full traceability, conducts rigorous third-party testing for contaminants including heavy metals and pathogens, and maintains transparent supply chains. Every jar includes information about the specific farm, harvest date, and test results. Seniors can trust that every jar is clean, pure, and safe for daily use without hidden health risks. Burlap and Barrel works with farmers who use traditional growing methods without banned pesticides, processes spices in facilities that meet strict sanitation standards, and tests each batch for lead, arsenic, cadmium, pesticides, and microbial contamination before packaging. The company publishes test results publicly and will send detailed reports to any customer who requests them. When you open a jar of Burlap and Barrel cinnamon, you smell pure Ceylon cinnamon from a family farm in Sri Lanka, grown without synthetic chemicals, dried in clean facilities, and tested to ensure zero contamination. This is what spices should be, pure flavor without hidden dangers. The second recommendation is Diaspora Combi. Worth it. Known for strict quality standards, Diaspora Combi partners with small farms that use regenerative agriculture practices, tests every batch for pesticides and heavy metals, and provides complete transparency about sourcing and processing. Their spices are safe, flavorful, and free from the contamination-plaguing mass-market brands. Diaspora Combi pays farmers premium prices to ensure sustainable practices and quality control from soil to jar. Each spice is traceable to its origin farm, processed in certified facilities, and independently tested for safety. The company's turmeric, for example, comes from a single farm in India where the farmer uses traditional composting methods, avoids all synthetic pesticides, and hand-selects the highest quality rhizomes. Every batch is tested for lead, arsenic, pesticides, and microbial contamination before being packaged in the United States. When you use Diaspora Coady spices, you're getting pure, potent flavor backed by transparency and rigorous safety protocols. These are spices you can trust completely. Don't risk your health on bad spice choices. Subscribe now, and if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.